Hello, welcome to Steven Shinder Reviews in video form with another installment of Chucktober, Day 18. We're on Chucky Season 2, Episode 3, Hail Mary. This was directed by Samir Rahem, written by Nick Ziegler and Rachel Paradise, and aired October 19th, 2022. So yeah, Samir directed two episodes in a row here, and I think these other writers were also on season one. I'm pretty sure. Um, but yeah, this takes place entirely at the School of the Incarnate Lord. So we don't get back to the Tiffany, Glenn, Glenda, Nika situation until the episode after this. So this picks up from the end of the previous one, or the end for the kids storyline, where they captured Chucky and they're interrogating him and trying to figure out like what's the deal with the photos that he's taking and sending and the selfies and whatnot. Lexi gathers that he's sending these photos to someone known as the Colonel. We do find out more about the Colonel later in the season. But yeah, it does the typical thing of like Colonel Mustard, Colonel Sanders, like when wondering like who the Colonel is, which is kind of silly. But Chucky is not complying. There is a moment where he says, "If you pull my hair, you better tell me I'm pretty first." And it's like, whoa, whoa, Chucky, this is really weird because like Chucky's talking to minors here, so feel like it was kind of strange, but I get that it's like Chucky taunting them, but yeah, it was just kind of weird. Um, they decide to do this Clockwork Orange type thing, brainwashing Chucky, and in between all this, at some point Jake does attend this lecture with a slide presentation that kind of reminds me of the way a slide presentation was filmed in the show Hannibal when Will Graham gives a presentation. So again, since Don Mancini worked on a couple episodes of that show, I can't help wondering, like, did he have that in mind when putting this scene together? But Sister Catherine gives Jake some advice, says that he needs to forgive others and in order to forgive himself. And, he touches upon the guilt that he feels over what happened with Gary in the first episode. And he mentions that there's more to it than people think. And I feel like if I were an outsider and did not know the Chucky situation there, I might wonder if Jake really wanted Gary gone on purpose. But I guess Sister Catherine doesn't see it that way. But yeah, Jake feels guilty about what happened to Gary, and I guess he takes this advice to heart because they try brainwashing Chucky to make him good, and this is a way that Jake can forgive Chucky. It's a really weird concept, but they force Chucky to watch violent horror movies because trying to put him in pain didn't work because he actually enjoys it. They did a trying to stab him in the finger type thing, and he seemed to enjoy that. So they make him watch all these horror movies from the 80s. Apparently, this included Cat People, and I recognized The Thing. Psycho 2, I saw a long time ago, but had to be reminded that that was in this. There was a moment where I was like, wait, that kind of looks like Psycho, but it's in color. Like, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's Psycho 2. Firestarter is in there apparently, and Darkman, which I've seen. It's a Sam Raimi kind of superhero movie. Um, at one point, I thought I saw a little bit of the original Halloween, but I'm not 100% sure since I don't see it listed here. And at first, Chucky is sort of into the violent imagery, but they keep putting eye drops in his eyes. Imagine that, eye drops in the eyes, you know? of course. And eventually, the more he watches these horror movies, the more sick he gets, and so he vomits. He repeats a line from the original Child's Play that Andy says, which is, "Aunt Maggie, Chucky wants to see the 9 o'clock news," which felt like, I don't know why that was included there. It kind of bothers me because I feel like this show has kind of a habit of reusing too many lines from the movies. So that kind of stood out to me in a not so good way. But Chucky is starting to act nice. He seems to be good now, but he doesn't remember the information that they're looking for, of like who's the colonel and what's going on with the photos and stuff. And Devin is really upset because prior to all this, Chucky had been taunting him with the fact that he had killed Devin's mother, saying that doesn't have the guts to kill him. And I'm glad that they brought that up. It feels very real that Devin would have all this anger over what happened to his mom. And so he'd feel very skeptical about this strategy and really against Jake's idea, and it causes some conflict between them because Jake like wants to be able to forgive Chucky, and it's really weird that he carries that advice about forgiveness with him when Chucky has killed so many people. But Jake eventually, I think later on, tries telling Devin, I need to be able to forgive myself for the guilt. And, earlier he had been talking about feeling guilty about what happened to Gary, but I also wonder if maybe he still also feels guilty for what happened to Devin's mother. The stuff that Chucky killing Devin's mother wouldn't have happened if Jake hadn't gotten the Chucky doll from the yard sale, and it's like a whole domino effect. So I kind of wonder if there's a underlying thing there, and if that was what the writers had in mind. But yeah, they argue back and forth a couple times in this episode, but they try to talk it out and reconcile. And they even share a kiss at one point, which Father Bryce sees. And I think Father Bryce is a character that is supposed to keep the viewers guessing. Like he's been somewhat nice so far. The punishments aren't that severe, so it kind of I guess subverts those expectations of, if the protagonist is a queer character, you might expect a priest like this character to be mean, like super mean. But yeah, he does tell Jake to reflect at one point, and after this incident that he witnesses, um, it sounds so ridiculous to even call it an incident. It's just Jake and Devin kissing, but he says he basically has Devin um, polish like some cups and stuff, I guess, as his penance. It's really weird that they leave Nadine alone with Chucky to watch him. Like, even though he's brainwashed and seemingly good, I think it's very risky to just trust that doll and leave it alone with someone who has the least amount of experience facing him. But she has a knife with her, which I think is implied that she stole it from somewhere. Um, Lexi couldn't stay behind in the room because she's still struggling with drugs. Um, and at one point, she's confronted by Nadine in the bathroom. Um, I think this might be after the confession. Yeah, there is a confession scene where Nadine, well, the day before, she told Father O'Malley that she wanted to confess, and he seems really put off by Nadine. Like, I think, lots of people at this place apparently find her super annoying, which I think was a really mean way to go about her character. And so the confession is put off until the next day, and when she finally does confess, she kind of goes on tangents, talks a little bit about Lexi and how she is showing signs of drug addiction, and we learned that Nadine's mother, who is who passed away a long time ago, had also been an addict, and so Nadine does not want to ignore the warning signs anymore. But as she's going on tangents, I think she even talks about Trevor, the guy who's been sort of bullying Lexi. Father O'Malley is listening, but he has a flask with him, and it just feels like really mean spirited the way that some of the stuff is handled here. But yeah, then Chucky, I guess this is supposed to make him less like, or maybe unlikable. I don't know if like the audiences like him that much at all, since he doesn't show that much personality and seems to just not like Nadine. But I guess I think palatable is the right word. Like I think these were an attempt to make it more palatable, that this character, Father O'Malley, would get killed by Chucky. I think Chucky strangles him with it might have been a rosary, but I'm not so it might have been because there were beads that fell after this happened, and yeah, like this, I'm not so sure about this, but then Chucky pretends he's Father O'Malley, imitates his voice, and this is a different Chucky doll, by the way. Another one got shipped to this place, so it's different from the one that seems really nice now. But it pretends to be Father O'Malley and says that Nadine's penance is 400 Hail Marys, um, and she thinks that's really harsh, but goes along with it anyway. And it feels like they're being really loosey goosey with this stuff. She doesn't kneel in the pews to do the Hail Marys. She just walks off on her merry way. I didn't intend that as a pun, but um, reciting the Hail Marys as she's walking. And yeah, it's I mean, I guess some people would do that. Like I don't know, but um, and that explains the title of this episode as well, I guess. But yeah, this other Chucky is wreaking havoc, and Trevor confronts Lexi, tells her to give in to a higher power, and says, "I'm the higher power. The sooner you learn that, the better." And Lexi tries to one up him by saying, "No, I don't know where the condoms are." And then he gets in trouble with, I think it's Sister Ruth, who also also is someone here who seems to be annoyed by Nadine when she does a room inspection for Lexi and Nadine's room, and they're trying to hide the nice Chucky, I think, and like all this other stuff. They make her want to leave the room by having Nadine talk to her a lot, and so I guess the reactions to Nadine that felt very mean sort of paid off here. But yeah, some of the stuff in this episode rubs me the wrong way, though. Um, yeah, I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else I missed. Um, but well, at the end of the episode, and then I guess I'll backtrack and see if there's anything I might have accidentally forgotten to say. But at the end, the Chucky that killed O'Malley finds Trevor, who I think ends up in. Is this Lexi's room? I think it might be. He gets punched through the chest, like through the heart, basically. I think so. It creates this hole in there, and we find out that this Chucky is a really buff one, and he comes across the nice Chucky. You know, the one that they forced to watch horror movies and then enjoy unicorn cartoons. And so, yeah, this Chucky is buff. And I know that varieties of Chucky's was kind of something that they wanted to play around with in this show, but for some reason, this buff Chucky feels it feels like too over the top of an idea to me. I'm not really sure if it really works, to be honest. Things are moving along. Um, yeah, I guess the more I think about this episode, the more I think it's maybe not as good as the previous one. Um, so yeah, I do like that Nadine and Lexia had their talk about Nadine confronting Lexi, knowing that she has an addiction, and so she wants her to get off of that. So I thought that was a very human moment. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Like there were little things here and there that um, I thought were pretty good, but there are other things that kind of bog this down for me, and it's like I'm not so sure about this. And Jay, I know they're playing with the whole confession and forgiveness themes, but Jake wanting to forgive Chucky just feels really weird to me in light of everything that he has done and the way that he's just automatically trusting of this Chucky and that they leave him with Nadine all alone. It just some of it doesn't feel like it should be that believable. So, Devin has the reaction that you would expect. So, I think after talking it over, this episode, I think I would give a 6.75 out of 10. So, yeah, there were things to like, but also things I didn't like so much. Um, So, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow talking about the next episode, which is titled, let me see real quick, Death on Denial. And that'll pick up the Tiffany storyline, Tiffany, Nika, Glenn, Glenda. There's some stuff I remember from that episode, if it's the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to Steven Should Do Reviews in video form for Chucktober. Re- hashtag renewed Chucky, hashtag reviewed Chucky, hashtag save Chucky, and I'll see you all soon.